This is the Mind Body Detox Podcast, where we discuss all things integrative health and wellness, interviewing folks from all over the world, sharing insights and wisdom for how to live a healthier life, mind, body, and spirit. Hello, everyone. It's Mind Body Psychic Medium Kara Lovehart, and I am back with another pre-event interview for the New Visions Holistic Expo. If those of you are not aware, the Mind Body Detox Podcast is one of the sponsors of the 23rd Annual New Visions Holistic Expo right here in York, Pennsylvania. And we are back with another amazing guest. This is Hay House author Suzanne Giesemann. So I'm really curious to interview her today and share a little bit about her story and really what she brings to the world as far as the new paradigm, this new earth that we're moving into, and how we can support each other in community and with some of the wisdom and insights she'll share. So Suzanne Giesemann is a spiritual teacher, best-selling author, and former Navy commander, recognized as one of the top 100 most spiritually influential living people, and known for her joyful, heart-centered teachings. She guides others to live consciously, connected, and divinely guided lives. So we're going to hear about Suzanne's story, former Navy commander turning psychic medium. So this is going to be wonderful and interesting. And also, if you have any questions today, I encourage you to put them in the chat. If you want to say hi, we are not doing readings today, but any questions related to the content for Suzanne. And you're also welcome to encourage you to actually engage with our giveaways you're going to be having today. So I'll put those in the link. You can watch it. You can click the link there to learn more about our giveaways, and I'll tell you about those at the end today. All right. Well, Suzanne, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you, Karen. It's really funny that you called me Susan several times, and you just called me Suzanne. I got on this path because of my stepdaughter, Susan. So I don't get upset when people call me Susan because I have that eternal connection with her. But I'm Suzanne Giesemann, and she's Susan Giesemann.
That's so funny because I didn't even recognize I made that. I didn't even recognize that.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, maybe saying a hello. I'm a medium too, so that's how how it works with this stuff.
I do know how that works. Yeah.
Well, I'm really glad. So yes, I would love to have you share with our audience about your story. It was incredible and heart-moving.
Well, it's this work that I'm doing now as a spiritual teacher and a medium is nothing I ever expected, Kara. I had no belief in the spirit world, no experience with it. I'm not what people call a born medium. But Susan's death in 2006 by a lightning strike just catapulted me on this journey. I actually started questioning life and deeper spiritual concepts right after 9/11 when I was in the last aircraft in U.S. airspace on that day. I was the aide to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and very left brain, very by the book, which I know a lot of people can relate to. And so I give people hope that if I can go from that kind of background to a very, very clear connection now with those who have passed, including my Susan, and to knowing that we're not just these bodies, then anybody can do it.
Oh man. And I'm curious about how your journey, as far as how your gifts came online for you. What was the start of that?
It was sparked by seeing Susan's body at her funeral. I just had an epiphany. I knew that whatever enlivens these bodies, whatever gives us life, can't be killed, can't be destroyed. Like we say, simply transmuted. And so I set a new goal, a new mission of connecting with Susan. And I started that week daily, sitting quietly with my eyes closed, listening and looking for Susan and asking her to make her presence known. She told me later she deliberately held back for 3 years so that I would completely open up to spirit. I was already doing readings for other people before I finally heard from Susan, but my path was clearly to just open up to a greater reality, to understand how and why it works, and to teach others to make the connection.
Oh, well, as far as like how and why it works, could you give us a little bit of a rundown for someone who's very left-brained, analytical? How do you support their, just opening up to curiosity about this work?
I teach a lot of practices of what to do when we sit quietly. And the most basic one is just 3 minutes a day of watching what arises in awareness. And you become aware that your basic essence is awareness itself. And if you become still and watch the thoughts and the sensations and the feelings that arise, you start to notice how many of them are repetitive. And then when you ask a question, hoping for an answer, and you hear something that stands out from the normal mental chatter, you notice that there is something greater that you're connected to. And there you just take off from there. So it begins with being willing to suspend disbelief, to be open to a greater reality. And then you start to learn that it's all about tapping into a different channel that's here all the time. But our brain is programmed to this human, earthly, physical channel right now. But once we no longer have this body, we continue to exist as fields of awareness, but at a higher frequency that we can learn to connect to, as you well know.
And I know that that's one of the things that's nice. 10 years ago, I've been doing this for 15 years, and you've been, 18 years since 2006. This kind of started coming online for you. I think it's really exciting that more and more people are having their own personal experiences, whether they're working with someone like you or they've just had this awakening and there's interest. So I'm curious if you've seen that also over the last, 10 years of your career. Have you seen more and more people who are looking for this connection?
Most definitely. We talk about the veil thinning, but it's really because as a species, we are becoming more aware of our true nature as awareness in expression. You could call it source, God, the force, consciousness. It's a field of information and connection that is who we are. It's from where we arise. So I believe that technology is helping to spread the word more. I mean, I have a YouTube channel and podcast that just keeps growing because people are interested. Everybody's had what I call an NOE, a no other explanation moment. And once you get people talking about it, they open up and say, "Oh, it's okay to talk about this? Let me tell you my story."
Yes. I'm so grateful to so working here at this bookstore, so this is New Visions Books and Gifts. We've been open since 1987. There was a couple times I was working here and there was a woman that walked into the store and she said to me, she was interested in all this stuff, all this new age metaphysical, mediumship. And she said, but, don't tell anyone that I was here.
Yeah, right.
And then about the next week she came in again. I said, hey, how's it going? It's good to see you again. She goes, I'd never been here before. And I was really confused. And then she looked at me, she
Oh,
started saying the same thing, like, wow, I don't want anyone to know. And I said, do you know, there was someone that came here that looked a lot like you. She goes, well, I do have a twin sister.
oh my
And then I
gosh.
wonder, like, this whole, like, within the family, like, they're like, but now we don't have as much of that. People are sharing and they're not feeling like they're going to get thrown under the bus for having these awarenesses that are a little bit beyond what we would call normal. So I'm really curious about that as far as this global awakening, if you want to call it that. There's so many words to say. So when we're in this time, how do you see the shift in spirit showing up energetically for you or for the collective? What do you see as it being different in the way it's showing up, with any?
Actually, what I see happening is the polarity, the division, and the chaos that we're experiencing is what we're in the midst of now. And that is causing people to seek peace. So it's not showing up as we're all peaceful and loving. We're showing up as quite the opposite. And so more people are seeking than normal because we don't like the way this feels and we're programmed for peace. So it's a paradox. It's perverse, but it is absolutely leaving people to seek answers and solutions that are outside the normal way of operating.
I completely agree with you. Absolutely. That contrast helps us have a very obvious potential choice that's different.
That's right. And awakening is not a sudden thing. You may have a moment when you just know there's something more and I'm part of it. Awakening is literally tuning this instrument choice by choice, decision by decision, moment by moment throughout your day. And it becomes this process that just raises your vibration day by day until you are connected consciously more often than not.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much for that. And It's like a nice series that we have you after our last speaker yesterday, which the topic was peace in chaotic times.
Oh,
And
love
just
that.
echoing the same sentiments that peace is always here and it's a choice.
That's right.
Yeah.
I have several Hay House books, and the one that came out last year is called The Awakened Way, and the subtitle is uh, Living a Consciously Connected Life, a Divinely Guided Life. And that's what's possible for all of us. And that's what will take you beyond the peace, the chaos, to peace.
Well, that leads us perfectly into the next question, Suzanne. So, your book, The Awakened Way, because we have this awakening process that us humans are referring to, pointing to, calling it different words and different language. What, as far as these sort of unfolding that you see with people when they start walking this path, what are some of the thought signs and symptoms you start to see within yourself that people can identify?
Well, I talk about it as going from an emptiness that can't be filled to a fullness that can't be contained. I have a checklist in the book, The Awakened Way, and unfortunately, many people will identify with traits such as a mind that never slows down, addictive behaviors, and being triggered, all of these very human, very natural responses. But the more you live the constantly connected, knowing you're connected to something greater than yourself, life, then you can go back over that list and find that you're flowing more with life. You're not resisting it. All of these only human traits now become more balanced with I'm aware that I'm also a soul. It doesn't mean that life becomes always blissful and joyful, but you can come back into balance so much faster and easier.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think that's amazing. And so many people are, I feel like there's this experience of contraction and then expansion,
That's
and then
it.
going back into the chaos and going, oh no, I don't want this. And then choosing back this expansion. And it is this kind of dance until people get longer and longer periods in this piece. So yeah, I love that. Um, before the awaken, go ahead. Yeah.
I have a little dish that I just found at a gift shop and bought it. It keeps me here as I keep it here as a reminder. It says, let's dance in the middle of it. Just like you said, this is what we're doing. We're dancing with our higher selves and with spirit. And Kara, this is what's interesting is I wrote a book about the awakened way, and my most recent Hay House book is Making the Afterlife Connection, the journey from doubt to knowing that death is not the end. And both of them point to the same thing, that this connection with spirit is possible with those who have passed, who we love, with our own higher self, with guides and angels. It's possible because we are all sharing the same field. So mediumship, connecting with spirit, is one path, a beautiful path that leads to the same place that many other spiritual paths are taking people.
Yes, all paths lead back to this self, this
The
more
self.
awakened, expanded self. Yeah, I
Yeah.
completely agree. So, as a medium, is there any changes in the messages, or because we get messages from people who have crossed over for those we read, but what are the shifts and changes over the last couple of years that maybe are echoing similar concepts and messages for your clients or your community that are just there? What's coming through?
Well, what's very interesting is I just said this to my husband, that I'm grateful when I look back over the archives of the transcripts that I've gotten from my guides over the years. The message has not changed. And that tells me that I've been tapping into truth from the beginning, and
Yeah.
that the messages from those across the veil is not changing, because from the moment I started tapping in, and always ask for evidence and signs to validate this is a valid connection. I'm an evidence-based medium. They are saying, we're fine here. We now have the big picture. We wish we had seen it when we were where you are now. We wish we had realized we are love and expression, but it's beautiful here. And we're sending you our love and support, and your challenges exist for a reason. All of these things remain the same. It's the cycle of life.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so funny. I was just driving today. All these paths, we have these judgments about it being bad or lessons that come through. And I was driving and sometimes I was thinking, this thing came into my head that said, we're not where we want to be, but we are on the right path because there's really no wrong path.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and it was
Yeah.
like, I'm not where I want to be, but I'm on the right path. And that was just You can't
Nice.
not be on the right path. So it kind of reminds me of that, because we do have this idea, like as humans, that it has to be perfect and heavenly. And there's so much opportunity for growth in these challenges we have.
Yes. I'm in the middle of a tour taking my documentary Wolf's Message around the country, based on a book by the same title, Wolf's Message. And there's a line in there that I know was spirit inspired when it came out of my mouth. And I said, we don't have to be perfect while we're in these bodies. We are already divine.
Yeah.
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 And we will never achieve perfection in these bodies. That's not what this is about. It's about being the expression of love. Yeah.
Yes. Suzanne, would you be able to tell us about your documentary? I would love to hear
Well,
about that.
oh, we've won. It just came out in April, and we've won 5 awards already because it's absolutely a transformational film. Uh, it does start with my story about how I went from Navy commander and aide to the chairman to being a medium, but that was necessary to share because it's how I came to connect with this couple whose son died the same way my stepdaughter did, struck and
Oh,
killed by lightning. His
oh,
nickname was Wolf, and this young man left irrefutable proof that we are souls. I use that word even knowing skeptics might scoff. He left behind evidence that he knew he was going to be struck and killed by lightning very shortly, where it would happen, what would happen afterwards. He set up his apartment so people would see this poem and drawing that he made that gave the proof. That part in itself would be enough to make a movie, but the way he came back through me and led us crumb by crumb to this message for all of humanity about why we're out of balance, how to find peace and tranquility is what makes up the rest of the movie, along with the themes of why mental illness may not actually be a sickness. Some people are in 2 worlds at once. And
yes.
then one other theme is that knowing that there is more, that love never dies, which Wolf's story shows us, it takes away the fear of death. So it's a multi-layered documentary, 100% true, and people can find out more at wolfsmessage.com.
Oh, that's great. I'm going to include all this stuff in the show notes for everybody. Please encourage you guys to check out Suzanne's YouTube channel too. And if you guys are actually interested right now, in the comments, I do have our giveaways link. We're actually giving away both your books, Suzanne.
Oh, great.
So
Great.
for anyone who enters to win those, we're going to be giving those away a couple days before the event. But yeah, the thing that I was thinking about here, as far as your documentary and then your 2 books, it's like your message seems to be very clear of just helping people get rid of this fear of death, because it seems like the greatest fear we have at all is it comes down to ultimately that.
It is. And once you take that away, then it's well, now what do I do now that I'm here? How can I maximize my potential and my time here? And it doesn't mean changing the world and becoming famous and an influencer. It can be as simple as a kind comment to somebody in their greatest moment of need, or just really life to me is an acronym. Military people love acronyms. And it stands for love in full expression. But if I could just also explain that what I've learned from connecting to the greater reality is that this is a divine love, which is naturally the byproduct of the fact that we can't be separate from each other. That's love. Love is awareness of the lack of separation, the connectedness we all share. And that we don't experience at the human level, that kind of divine level, divine love, until we spend time examining who we really are beyond the story.
Yes, yes, yes. I say that all the time. So could you also just kind of reiterate that one more time, that love is being aware that we're not separated, being conscious that we're not separated.
That's it. And this is what I call the awakened way, the title of that first Hay House book. The awakened way of living comes down to 3 messages, which, coincidentally or not, are Wolf's message distilled into 3 principles. Number 1, you're not only human. Wolf's presence and all the evidence he left is one way of showing that you are also a soul. The second principle, when you live the awakened way, is being aware that you're part of one big web connecting all it is. And you start seeing synchronicities and signs. People that watch the film or read the book start feeling wolf's presence as a young man across the veil. They start seeing wolves. Then they start seeing other synchronicities in their lives, and they start to know, wow, we really are connected at a deeper level. And then the third principle, when you live the awakened way, you realize that love is this connective force. That's love, not this human kind of love that if you don't act the way I want, or if you don't do what makes me happy, I don't love you anymore. That's so very understandable when you forget who you really are, but it's temporary. This kind of love is this underlying essence that is that fullness I was talking about earlier. When no matter what happens, you know you're supported, you know you're not alone, you know everything really is going to be all right, even if you can't see it at the time.
Yeah. Yes. No, what you were sharing there about people, we often forget. We forget, and we're forgetting this love. We forget that we're not separated. I think that's one of the things I hear most in our community of the always making sure we have a practice or finding another amazing teacher or inspiration through a podcast or a YouTube video or an interview like this. That reminder, we often need reminded so often,
Yeah.
right? Because we kind of fall into that forgetfulness. So
Well,
you are, go ahead.
that's funny because one of the chapters in the Awaken Way book is about having reminders. I just got snagged by my clock. One of my tools is catching snags, and it's where I am now. It's 2:22. So the little snags that say you're on the right path. But reminders are little things you can have around that remind you to connect again, that remind you, oh, I'm not only human. I just bought a bracelet recently as a reminder because it's this lovely little collection of circles, orbs that are all in a little swirl together. And it reminds me of us as fields of energy with our soul family, just floating through cycle after cycle of life together. Yet the band is not connected in the middle. It's connected at the bottom on one side and the top on the other, like two octaves of being connected always, even though we're not aware because it appears separate now. So little reminders, like you were just saying, that just jog you to just turn within instead of turning to the computer and say, what's the next best thing for me right now? What is the best thing for me to say to this person who's hurting? And then listening. It's a whole different way of living.
I would love to hear a little bit about the audience's power objects or those reminders. What are the things that remind them? Mine, I call it a power object, but I love that this is your reminder object, your reminder thing. Mine is I'd have in my car and everywhere all over my home rainbow makers because rainbows are like, it just lights me up in my heart and I feel this connection always
Nice.
whenever I see a rainbow. So I have a little one hanging through my rearview mirror, but I'd love to hear from the audience what theirs are. And I'd also have a question for you, Suzanne, about synchronicity. In my own experience, when I'm not seeing a synchronicity on a regular basis, on a daily basis, I know I'm out of alignment. So
Yes.
how's that for you? Have you had that
Oh,
experience?
I don't actually look for them every day. I expect them all the time.
Yes.
Yes, yes. And they come all the time. And sometimes they're so in my face that it's stunning. And I write them down. I'd love to document these NOEs, no other explanation moments, because in those times when I might be feeling very human, to just look at that list and say, oh, yeah, you can't deny that I was connected then. Then why am I not connecting now? Is maybe there's a lot going on in my life. So perhaps I need to go within a little more, spend some more time in stillness, examine my thoughts more. This is an ongoing way of life that is not rigid anymore. It flows because you learn through the synchronicities and active connection that it's you really are part of something so much bigger.
That's so different too from being in the military. You know,
Oh my
that
goodness.
rigidity with your schedule. It's like an alien experience of that so opposite.
Oh, I love what you just said reminded me of the daily message I get every day, and it's today's message. It's today's message. And this when I give readings, the daily message always comes up in the reading. So I think it's a beautiful synchronicity that the daily message just came up in our talk. I have an app We're just about at 65,000 downloads, where these daily messages I get are posted on the app. Just go on your smartphone and look up Awakened Way. And it's daily inspiration with the energy of spirit. And there's a little Oracle Inspire button where you can ask spirit a question and see what message comes up. And it's almost always exactly what we need to hear.
I love that. That
Yeah.
is a fantastic. Any way you can allow more tools for spirit to speak to you,
Mhm.
right? Because, all the things that come through as messages from spirit, what do you teach as far as your clients? What type of signs to look for, signs to keep an eye out for?
Well, I know that those in spirit don't become birds and butterflies and dragonflies, but they merge their awareness with these animals, insects, and birds to get our attention. So that's a very common one that it's not just that a butterfly flies by, but it does something very unusual, flies in an unusual pattern, stays somewhere, that kind of behavior we noticed. Our loved ones across the veil will play with our electronics. They'll turn on the TV. They'll turn on fire alarms that have no batteries in them, radios that have no batteries, or a favorite song will come on the radio just when you turn it on because a loved one put in your mind the thought, oh, I think I'll turn the radio on now. We don't realize we're being inspired very often by our loved ones across the veil.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
have a book called Mediumship that has 32 stories from other ordinary people of their afterlife communications, after death communications. And then I explained how it all works and why.
That's great. Yes. Thank you so much for being in this life at this time. I feel like there's so many amazing, amazing offerings that you're sharing with the world. And so I'm curious as far I have one more question for you um, about the vision for the future. Like, what are your hopes? What do you see for us moving forward into more of this awakened place as humanity? What do you see unfold for you, or your hopes, I should say?
My hope is that more people will embrace spirituality, which is the personal experience of the divine, instead of being told what to believe. My hope is that people practice what I call the 3 E's of the awakened way, which is educating yourself through books in your store and podcasts like this and videos online, experiencing for yourself higher consciousness and who you are through practices of stillness and silence, presence, and then engaging higher consciousness for yourself. You don't need a medium to make that connection yourself. So as more people empower themselves and know there's something more and are frustrated with the chaos in this life, they will go down that spiritual path and awaken to their higher self.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. So, everyone, I want to ask if you have anything, comments, questions at all. I want to have a special hello from Haley to you, Suzanne. She's excited to listen because she was at your weekend at Omega a few weeks
Oh,
ago.
wonderful.
And
Oh, that's such a good time.
yeah, she said she snagged you. You snagged her there as one of the synchronicities, and she said that she's been following 3 a.m. because you mentioned 3 a.m. So 3 a.m. has been a synchronicity for her, and it's a teaching message for her, from what I'm understanding. She's posting. Yeah,
Great.
thank you, Haley. Yeah,
Yeah, I can tell you that anybody who didn't get to ask a question, don't be frustrated because we just launched a new resource on my website, which is SuzanneGiesemann.com/your questions answered. All one word. And you can ask any of your spiritual questions, and it dives into 15 years of channel information from my guide, Sanaya, all of the transcripts of my classes and YouTube videos, and just gets an answer that way. But again, that's going to be secondary to asking within. Ask your higher self first.
Yes. Thank you so much for doing that work. And that's kind of what I wanted to end on, because your work does build intuition, or blend intuition and empowerment. And I think that's so needed for people to really understand that it's not, like you said, I love your story. It's not, I'm a born medium, because it doesn't, you don't have to be. I tell people all the time. So what do you share? Is your anything else you'd like to share for honoring and encouraging the empowerment aspect of people connecting directly to source?
Simply to understand that we so often talk about feeling wounded and traumatized. And I have a dear friend, Brenda, who crossed the veil and came back and talked to me within hours of crossing. And she said, Suzanne, we're all walking wounded. And you can see the scars from up here, her higher viewpoint, now that she passed. She said, but the ones you work on, they look like little glowworms because there's this light in us that never goes out. That's the soul. So my point is, we may be wounded at the human level. We may never achieve perfection at the human level, but here's something not enough people are saying. Your soul is already whole and complete. You are a beautiful soul right here, right now. Just let it shine. That's what this journey's about.
That was so needed to be heard by me personally. Thank you,
Oh,
Sue.
sure.
Thank you, Spirit. Thank you for bringing that message
Yes.
to me, Suzanne. That's perfect. Can you repeat it one more time for everyone? I just want to hear it again.
Again, we're all walking wounded. There's not a one of us who hasn't been traumatized or hurt or victimized or hurt somebody else. That is the human way, and you may never be perfect at the human level, but your soul is already whole and complete. And it is this shining light that's guiding you to wholeness. So let it shine. Create those glowworms.
Yes.
Yeah.
That leaves so much more space for us to have forgiveness, acceptance, and love for us as the human condition and others, which
That's right.
that completely opens up just a piece that we can exude from our being. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's going to sit with me for a while. That's going to
Yeah.
be, thank you so much for that. Yes. Well, is there anything else you want to share about you or your work before I'll share finalizing about door prizes here?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Google knows me well enough now that they'll get my spelling of the name right. But as I look at the screen, it's Giesemann, not EI. So I
correct.
think either one will get to me. But I would just share, I have several prayers I put out to the universe regularly. One of them, when I catch myself doing something very human or as just a result of my own past wounds, I just know that Spirit loves me no matter what. And I say to all of you, Spirit loves you, doesn't judge you. So a beautiful prayer when you catch yourself and you wish you hadn't done that is to just say, forgive me for ever thinking I was anything less than love, which we are right now, always have been, always will be. And it's only when we forget that we hurt each other. So that helps us find, like you said, compassion for other people. And then the other thing that I pray very often is I just throw my hands up to the universe and I say, bring on the miracles. Because to me, a miracle is when the veil parts enough that we see it's right here, right now, and we're part of it. And the miracle is when you have those NOE moments, no other explanation moments, and it propels your journey. It propels you to want to clear out the gunk so your light shines all the brighter.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here with us and to the incredible work you're doing. And thank you all for listening and also listening to the replay, all of you out there. And please, we encourage you to go on the link below in the comments. You can enter to win. We got 2 books we're giving away from Suzanne, and both of them are going to be offered. We'll pull the winners a couple days for the event, so August 6th. And it is The Awakened Way, Making a Shift to the Divinely Guided Life that Suzanne was talking about. And then her other book, The Afterlife Connection, The Journey from Doubt to Knowing That Death is Not the End. So we're giving away both those books. And with each of those books comes a 2-day pass to the event too. So
Awesome.
2-day pass and a book. And of course, we'll be selling her books at the New Visions Books and Gifts book expo booth at the expo. So you can get it there, or of course at the store if you're not able to come to the event. But other than that, we appreciate you being here, Suzanne. Thank you so much.
A total joy. Thank you for allowing me to share.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, everyone. Thanks again for tuning in, and be well until next time, my friends. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Mind Body Detox Podcast. If you love this podcast, share it with others and leave us a review. Your reviews help us more than you know and supports us continuing to make episodes and being heard from all over the world. You can also follow the link in our show notes to submit a topic that you would like to hear on the show.